how has it been since the first episode we did? I hope this season has been enlightening. It has been too on my end. I get excited and I also get to a place. I get to the corner and I'm like, where is this really something I signed up for? I was just telling my guest how hard this season on family dynamics has been. But I want to thank God because of the grace. This is the Touching Lives podcast. This is where we tell stories that transform. This is where we get the gist. This is where we learn and unlearn and relearn. This is where Christ is seen. This is where we get salted and we see the light. So welcome so much. Today we are talking about childhood trauma. They call it trauma. It just depends with where ulisomea. But Somehow with your English depends with your English teacher. But I must say this is quite a topic. This is not something one would really want to talk about even in the middle of the night unless you have healed. So I have an amazing guest here. This is a virtual podcast and I have an amazing guest. Fast forward, this guest, I will shout out to Shem, Tom. This is our mutual friend. This is a long story of how we got to meet, but I saw this friend alikuwa anaongelelea on something on his status and then we got into a conversation. I posted something on friendship. We got into a very long conversation for almost 3 days. And I was like, why haven't I invited Tehila? Why? We need to hear your views. So welcome so much, Tehila. You can tell us who you are, what you do, where you're at, so that people can get to know you and where we can find you on social media. Squeezy Mambo ni online.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Tehila. I am the CEO and founder of Asili Entertainment. I also do a bunch of other things other than. So Asili Entertainment is a game development company. So I make video games, but beside making video games, there are other things I do. I write articles sometimes. I sing. I do a lot of talking to people. I do some diplomacy to some degree. It's basically I wake up, I decide what I'm gonna do for the day. That's basically how my life goes.
Hey, my people get to wake up and decide what they want to do. But anyway, it is so good to have you, Tehila.
Thank you for having me.
It is so good. So we are talking about childhood trauma. What came into your mind when I told you, hey Tehila, I would really want to invite you to talk about this topic? What came into your mind?
My what was really going through my mind was do enough people talk about childhood trauma?
Mhm.
Like the thought about it, I tend to think a lot, and one of the things I've realized is for a lot of our adulthood, it's like we are kind of vibing through life. We haven't like taken the time to go and identify the roots of our problems, and we don't tend to. Either we know that the roots of our problems are centered within this particular topic of today, and we are not. We are too scared to tackle it because we think we are incapable of tackling it, or we haven't even bothered to think about it that way.
So true, so true. And the habits that we have mostly sometimes, or what we project to people, will be a piece of trauma. So
True.
and I have come to realize that childhood trauma has been the uncharted waters. Something that not everyone wants to talk about it, but it's there. It's there. You just bring up the topic. One or two, some people leaving the room, others go quiet all of a sudden. And you just know this is what is happening.
It's normally the thing that makes family gatherings all of a sudden suddenly quiet.
Yeah, so are they real?
Yes, they're very much real. Okay. So think about this. You know how some people say the things are like that happened when you were 5, get over it. It's really that simple. That's a question I'd put to you. Do you think something that happened to you as a child you would be able to let go of?
Yes, you do. Yes. I know.
lives. And I want you to think back, or I want you to think back on a time that you still hold either some degree of prejudice or anger or sadness about from a period in your childhood. If already immediately something strikes you, then that should tell you that childhood trauma is real. That's your best answer.
Yep. I mean, I even laughed once. I laughed once. Because honestly, I have also had my own share of trauma growing up. And it took me over, say, over 19 years, or say over, like over 10 years to just heal. And bad thing about trauma is if you don't heal, then you will bleed on people who are not recipients of trauma.
True, very true.
So in simple language, if someone wondering what I want to say, there are people who have trauma and they don't even know. In simple
True,
language,
that's also
probably
very
you
true.
can if I take a trauma, what is the trauma? How does it even come about? And there's someone who's told me recently, Gen Zs are very very yani one thing and you're like, oh, you have already altered with my mental health. Yet it was not even that serious. I don't know the right word to go very petty. They use the word petty. See, Gen Zs are very petty. You just tell them one thing and they tell you have already altered their mental health. They need a mental break. So you can talk to them and say like, what do you think is childhood trauma? If someone has it, what are some of the signs that they could be dealing with these traumas?
So, childhood trauma
Mhm.
is any deeply unsettling experience we go through when we are young,
Mhm.
but we don't have the tools to understand
Mhm.
or deal with.
Mhm.
And if it is not worked through, it comes and follows us into adulthood.
Mhm.
The examples of childhood trauma could look like either being bullied as a kid,
Mhm.
facing criticism or neglect as a child. So if you believe your parents never quite listened to you or they never even took time to think or care about you as a child, if you felt unloved or unsafe for a very long period of time,
Mhm.
if you experienced violence in the home or violence at a young age of any kind,
Mhm.
or if you lost a parent or a loved one, these are very primary examples. These are the most striking examples of childhood trauma. However, childhood trauma exposes itself in very many other ways, and I am not yet fully aware of how explicit your channel gets.
Mhm.
I'm not aware of how explicit your channel gets, but even more examples.
Mhm.
So maybe you could clarify how explicit your channel is.
I just saw the analytics recently. Most of my audience is mostly campus going students, age from around 18 to 25, and then the majority lies there 18 to 25, and then now there's 25 to 28 where okay, not many people but quite a number, alafu kuna wazazi wetu.
Juu ya wazazi kuna vitu sitasema juu italeta shida, but I don't know, maybe am I allowed to say this because again we are adults, we need to talk about
We
these
need to
things.
talk about these things, Tehila. Don't fear. We are fearless.
Okay, it's okay. Then it means I'll be there.
Be very free. Be very frank.
Quite drastic.
Just hit the point. Be very free and frank. Hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
Inject.
There are other types of examples of childhood trauma that are not considered childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I will shed a light on this specifically because this is something I'm currently in the battle against. This is something known as early porn induction. Early porn induction is when either a cousin, a friend, or even somebody you know who is older introduces you to porn at a very early age. It might not look like a trauma, but it does manifest itself in that way. So, again, thanks for giving me the template. I'll be allowed to say what I need to say fully do the podcast. So that's an example of what that. Those are examples of childhood traumas, what childhood trauma is. Now, here are signs somebody might be dealing with childhood trauma. When you're dealing with childhood trauma, the people who tend to deal with childhood trauma, they tend to avoid conflict. If you find, let's say you are in a relationship with a friend or with your significant other, and you kind of you want to vibe through the relationship, you don't want to talk about, you don't want to deal with hard subjects, you don't want to ask the hard questions, you want to avoid conflict at all costs, that's a sign that you might be dealing with childhood trauma. You're always trying to please people, you're trying to present yourself as a good person, that could be a sign you're carrying childhood trauma. The second thing is they get anxious in certain situations that don't seem like a big deal to others. So, for example, let's say, for example, they don't feel comfortable hanging around with friends who are openly talking about, let's say, their mental health, or more importantly, how they feel emotionally. That could be a sign that they're carrying childhood trauma. Another thing would be emotional outbursts or withdrawal during stress. So when you find a person has been pushed to a corner, and instead of dealing with the situation rightly as an angry person would, they are lashing at everybody like a person who has been wounded, that could be a sign of carrying childhood trauma. And if they instead of lashing out, they also decide to stay away from everybody, especially when they are going through something they believe makes them feel alone or makes them feel vulnerable. That is a sign they are carrying childhood trauma. When they express self-doubt or guilt, even when things are not their fault, when they're kicking themselves down for things they did not, things they were not responsible for, that's also a sign of carrying childhood trauma. When they are trouble forming, they are quick to cause trouble, or they're quick to establish seeds of discord, that's also a sign of childhood trauma. When they have trouble maintaining relationships as well, when you find they either self-sabotage during they start a relationship and then they ruin it themselves, or it could be a friendship, it could be a relationship with a significant other, it could even be a relationship with their institution, school, or job opportunity. They feel they don't deserve a situation, so they sabotage. That could be a sign of them being childhood trauma. Also, believe it or not, physical symptoms. There are physical symptoms of childhood trauma. It is something most people don't think about. They are dealing with constant headaches and fatigue without any medical cause. So they go to find they are constantly fatigued, and there is no reason as to why they could be this fatigued. Or they always are suffering from headaches, and when they go and check, they are not sick. This could be a sign of childhood trauma.
I have heard you mentioned a lot of things that many people are currently going through, or what they even project. And you have mentioned a very interesting aspect even in relationships, because you get the fact that someone could be having childhood trauma and they have not dealt with it, and now they are projecting it to their partners. You have talked about people ruining their relationships, their friendships, and it lets me see that it does not just ruin us as the victims, but it also ruins the people that are around us. There are people who, for lack of better words, have forsaken marriage. There are people who have said, I have seen my parents go through this. I have gone through this as a kid. I did not experience my childhood so well. I did not find it good as a child to see this and this happen, and so I have decided I won't get married. And there are people who have decided to be loners for life. They won't consider friendships. They won't consider even like mutual connections with people, just because they went through trauma, and not necessarily childhood, because you have mentioned the fact that kuna venye ni trauma, but it's not necessarily childhood. And so my question would be, for these people who you have mentioned, the headache, so there are people who sit down and be like, hey, By the way, let me analyze myself. So it sends someone to sit down and actually analyze why they have been having the feelings of headaches, why they've been having the feelings of maybe, the burnouts and whatever. So for this person who has not dealt with their trauma, they have already made a verdict. I won't get married. I won't consider friendship. How do we deal with these people? These people who project their traumas to us, and we are like, well, I want to tell her she's going through trauma. I want to tell him, by the way, I'll do it. How do we create a safe space for these people? We embrace them, but again, put out the truth to them that this could not be the solution. Because to someone who, you see, kuna watu wenye, there are people, husbands, most especially, who have raised their siblings by themselves, and they are like, I saw someone say, I've already raised siblings, I've already raised kids. I do not want to raise more kids. So if I get married, I won't have kids. Someone is like, I have for the better part of my life, I have not enjoyed life. So getting married is a lot of responsibility. I have decided I won't get married. I will enjoy life to the fullest. How do you handle these people?
The way to handle people who are dealing with childhood trauma is very complex. As you said, this topic already as in itself is very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to approach. And I am sure most of the audience right now are feeling as if they're walking through a therapy session. Because that is exactly what therapists do. Yeah, that's exactly what therapists do. Therapists tend to want to find the root cause of a problem that they are dealing with. When you go to a therapist's job is not to just sit down and listen to what you have to say and your feelings about it. They may ask you what you feel about it, but their goal is normally simple. The goal is to try and find out what the root cause of it is. And once they find the root cause, they begin to try and treat or try and help you walk through the storm that is the root cause of your problem. For many of the problems in our country right now, people don't think it manifests. But for many of the problems in our country right now, our restlessness, our anger, our unbridled rage, our seeming insatisfaction with life, and I am quite sure this is something a lot of Kenyans sense. For those who have money, for those who don't, for those who seem to be living the life, for those who don't seem to be living the life, all of us are dealing with some degree of unsatisfaction with life. There is a disquiet with life. All of these things manifest from what we partake, what we receive. There is a verse in the Bible that says, above all things, guard your heart. From out of it flows the issues of life. You see, much like the ears, the heart is ever open. And like the ears, the heart is ever listening. And with your eyes, the heart is ever seeing. And how you were raised determines how you were raised, and what you were raised on ends up determining what you end up becoming. In Christian contexts, and I'm sure this is also written in the Bible, it says, train up your child in the way that they should go, and they will never depart from it. Normally the ultimate guide for parenthood. If you teach your children to abide by Christian principles, if you teach your children to love God, and not just teach your children to love God, show your children who God is like, so that they can love God for themselves, other than to force them to love God because it is your religion. If you show your children how amazing God is and have them cultivate under your patronage a good relationship with God, that typically would be the guide for proper Christian life. And now, outside of the context of Christianity, the way you lived it, what you have seen as a child determines your actions, determines everything in your life. So if you're going to talk about creating safe spaces for these people, we need to understand what it is, because the reality of the matter is, you might want to create a safe space for a person that's dealing with childhood trauma, and you yourself are dealing with childhood trauma. It is important that you know what you're dealing with first before you ever create spaces. It is impossible to love another person if you do not already love yourself. And it is in this light that you have to learn what it is, and you need to learn the impact of it. So this is what I want to talk about before I get to creating safe spaces. I want to talk about the impacts of childhood trauma. Now, one of the things people love to do, because I'm sure in your on your podcast you talk a lot about relationships. People love to talk about relationships, and one of the things they love to talk about in relationships is love languages. I'm sure the topic of love languages, and it sounds like a very intelligent thing to figure out with your partner, because again, how else would you understand how your partner feels loved? Now, what a lot of people don't know, or maybe they do know, is this: that your love language is influenced from the life you had as a child. So,
Interesting. I haven't ever looked at it like that.
your love languages are often typically decided upon by the kind of life you had as a child. So for people whose love language is touch, it often reflects the fact that they never got enough touch as a kid. They were not hugged, they were not hugged enough, they were not loved enough, they were not held enough. That reflects itself as a love language. For those whose love language is acts of service, they might have grown up to seeing either how acts of service helped out somebody they cared about, and that adopted into their love language. Or as they grew up, this is most very common. By the way, acts of service is very common amongst firstborns. Because firstborns have been bearing the brunt of responsibility growing up.
Yes.
They're the ones taking siblings. They're the ones, doing things for people, and so their love language develops into, I want to have somebody take care of me for once.
Please.
I'm sure you're beginning to resonate.
Yes.
That's the thing. People don't know that how they understand love, how they receive love, is determined by how they lived as a child and what they experienced as a child. For somebody whose love language is gift giving, either they got a lot of gifts as a child or they did not get enough gifts as a child. If they got a lot of gifts as a child, their love language is gift giving, but they have grown to expect it. If their love language is gift giving and they appreciate every single little gift that you give them, it's probably because they hoped to receive gifts in their childhood and they did not. And so they grew up very very hopeful for gifts from the person who loves them or from their significant other. For a person who wants their partner to be just present, it's probably because as a child they did not feel the love of their parents close by, either because their parents were absent or their parents were present but not emotionally present in their lives, and so they appreciate being in the presence of their lover. Now, those love languages are a reflection of how you lived as a child, and they present themselves. Now, again, you've allowed me to talk about explicit things, so it affects even your sexual life. It affects your desires sexually. It reflects it reflects how you want to be treated, or how you want to be handled sexually. It reflects how you want to be loved physically by your lover. And not by physically, I don't just mean sexually alone. I mean even how you want them to handle you. If you, again, a reflection of your love language. If you want your lover to hold you, a lot, you are touchy-feely. You're a touchy-feely person. Probably you never got a chance to hold people enough. You were starved for touch. You were starved for touch as a child, and now you want to either show it, you want to either express it, or you want to receive it. Growing up, if you're the kind of person who wants to receive little drink, maybe ukirudi unirudie na chocolate. If you're that kind of person, that shows the child you really appreciated, either how your parents came back with things, or that there were unfulfilled promises as a child that your inner self wants to see healed in themselves. So that's another thing most people don't know. Even your actions as an adult in this day, your purchasing decisions, what you buy, what you consume, what you decide to do with your money, tends to be oftentimes a satisfaction of the inner child. So, for example, maybe now as an adult you have adult money and you find yourself buying yourself very plushy items, maybe because you've always liked plushy items and you couldn't afford them. Or as an adult, you now have adult money and you've always loved chocolate and you never got enough chocolate. So one day unajichocha, unanunua Ferrero Rocher, unanunua kibox mzima, unajiambia leo najitreat. Na hiyo unaziwa mbii mtu unakanyagia.
Hakuna mtu anajua uko na box ya chocolate kwa nyumba.
Ndio, hiyo ni yako hata imewekwa pale watu hawezi ona. Hiyo ni yako, that's your guilty pleasure. That is the satisfaction of the inner child. So a lot of who we become as adults stems from the lives we had as children. Again, same as the problems. A lot of the problems we have stem from the life of children. And I apologize if I'm going to feel like I'm attacking you here right now in this podcast. I notice when you get nervous, you laugh. There you go.
Don't do that, yeah. Okay.
It happens. That laughter, don't worry, I share in that tabia. It's like a behavior. That your tabia ya kucheka when you're nervous or angry is a tabia of somebody who developed a diplomatic, it's known as a diplomatic personality. This personality stems from either you had to deal with tough situations as a child, or were faced in a situation where you had to make tough decisions, and you at the same time you were willing to please your parents, or you felt a strong need to please your parents, and so to try and diffuse the situation, you laugh it off. It's a behavior. It happens.
Like hata si nashangaa nisikata sasa just true.
It happens. When you I do a lot of thinking, so I hope I don't scare your audience. But people's behaviors often stem from the life they lived as a child, and they often manifest into characteristics, because you see, the things you develop as a child, it starts as an unconscious habit, slowly becomes a behavior, and it centers itself eventually into a character, into part of your character. So when you employ a practice for long enough, it manifests into becoming a part of your character after long becoming a habit or behavior. So this has probably taken a lot of time, and you probably were very unconscious. One of the things I had to learn to do growing up as a child was to walk with my chest high. Because as a child I was often ignored, in the sense where I felt I never had a voice.
And when you middle child.
Only child.
Oh, only child.
Yeah.
Unapitia haya kweli?
Yes.
Hello?
You see, for me to have gotten to the point where I had full understanding of childhood trauma, I also had to understand that my father was a child once, that my mother was a child once. I had enough time to think it through and realize, okay, fine, this might be a result of this might be as a result of this. I'm not saying you excuse. I'm not saying you don't excuse your. I'm not saying you don't. What is it called? I don't say you overthink about your parents and whatnot, and that psychoanalyzing them. But still, I remember that also they too are also winging life. They are doing it the best that they can. It might not be the absolute best, but for those parents who are there, for those whose parents are there, they are doing what they know, and what they know could also be a reflection of their own childhood. So again, how many times have you seen a child as an adult now, and realized if you were in the position of a parent, you'd probably take the same actions as your parents? How many times? It often, you realize that a lot of your parenting style, even in the future, is dependent on how you were raised. So again, it's the thing we avoid talking about the most, yet it's the thing that affects us the most. It's us the most. I had to learn to walk with my chest held high. I had to learn confidence because as a child I might have had that natural born confidence, but a lot of it was knocked out of the way. I was bullied a lot as a child. I was neglected at home. So I was bullied in school and neglected at home. That really does a number on your self-esteem. It lowers your self-esteem. It lowers your confidence. It brings you down a peg. And if you express any degree of difference, of naturally in any society, if you are different, you are hated because they don't understand you. I was neurodivergent at a time where neurodivergency wasn't a topic to talk about. I remember navigating neurodivergency as a child, and once I was able to self-diagnose with ADHD before I was officially diagnosed, my dad newspapers from the house because he thought I was being influenced by the West. Now, when you see, for him, I'm sure he thought he was doing what was right. I'm sure for him, thought he was protecting his child from negative influences because he knew his child loves to read, and he was worried the child might pick up on things he didn't teach me. But again, he didn't do me a service because I will never forget it, and I'll always take as a child I took it as this man, instead of trying to listen to me and hear me out and try and find a solution, he instead tried to prevent me from finding one. Now, when you have a statement like that in your head, it influences the relationship with that person.
Yeah.
And a lot of our worldview, how we see the world, how we relate to men, how we relate to women, how we relate to children, how we relate to leadership, how we relate to law and lawlessness, all stem from childhood. And they stem from statements like the one I have said that were formed in childhood. I'll report for your podcast listeners that I currently, as of now, I currently have a very good relationship with my father. However, it was hard fought.
You had to fight for it.
I had to fight for it. I had to build it brick by brick. Especially once I understood that he was not the problem. He was not my enemy. And a lot of people don't even get to that level.
Yeah, most people look at people as the problem, yet not the issue. The issue is the problem, not the person.
Exactly. Most people walk around with an bitterness of people around in their lives, either an uncle, a friend, a father, somebody close, that either did them wrong. And they, did not understand the fundamentals of forgiveness, that you have to understand that when you're forgiving, the forgiveness is not about them, it's about you. And second, they did not look enough into the problem, what the real problem there was. So I will not make assumptions for the audience. I will not make assumptions of you. You people have lived interesting lives. You have dealt with interesting things growing up in your childhood, and you have experienced all manner of things in your childhood. There are reasons why you have made statements or decided to make your relationships as they are. However, the goal here is not to try and make you change. The goal here is to make you understand why you did what you did. And hopefully in this understanding, make you reevaluate your entire relationships for your benefit and for the benefit of everyone around you.
I think this also, it also sends me to some discussion I was listening to recently. Someone said, you see, even the aspect of personality, I am a choleric, I am melancholic, I am sanguine, I am phlegmatic. Some people are choleric not because they were born to be choleric, but because of the trauma that they have experienced. That's why they behave the way they do. And this person was like, I won't cocoon myself and say I am phlegmatic, I am a melancholic, but I would rather look at these are the things that I've healed from. This is who I am. I will not say I am melancholic or I am phlegmatic or point fingers and be like, that is a choleric, don't even go there, don't even interact with them. Because people could be choleric and especially the choleric personality, because watu wanaonanga tu yani we are harsh the way we are that is how we were born, but probably we are dealing with traumas, or there are traumas that we have faced, we have not even dealt with them, and so we are projecting it to people around us. So to all cholerics, this is an invitation to us to look at the traumas that we may have gone through and just heal from them, so that if we are to be people, we will be more kind in our words, in our actions, in everything, even in our thoughts, so that we have like a different personality, or a different way of how we can describe ourselves. I don't know if that is true. Have you met with that analogy as you are doing your research?
The analogy of people expressing different personalities from their origin because of trauma, yes. People tend to change their entire personalities, and by personalities I mean literally everything about them. You knew them as a child to be this, and you meet them as an adult and they are not the same people. They're literally not the same people. The way they speak, the way they move, the way they act. Something happened to them either in childhood, they did not have enough knowledge to deal with, or they did not understand what it was until much later and it ruined them, or they understood what it was and it ruined them then, but they weren't prepared enough to show it.
Naona tutakesha hapa.
It's a very expansive topic, so but it's good that you've brought it out to your audience for us to jump over and kind of figure out and find a solution.
So how do we create a safe space?
That's exactly what I was headed to, yes. So with that in mind, one of the easiest ways to create a safe space is to first create a safe space within yourself. So now as an adult dealing with another adult who might also be healing from childhood trauma, baggage of any kind, you need to understand that you too might have also dealt with the same, and that's where you start. You start from a point of genuine empathy, where you be like, okay, some things have happened to this person, but this same thing might have also happened to me. Or these things happened to them as a child, do not blame them for who they become. The first thing you do is you listen without judgment. Now that you've dealt with creating a safe space for yourself, if you give you an opportunity to do these things, to listen without judgment, to be there for them. So the goal here is not to fix problems, to fix people. People are not things. You don't fix them, you allow them to be. There's a quote I learned growing up, I think in my teenagehood. This quote said, people are not houses. People are not houses where you store your things. People are rivers. When people are rivers, all you can do is be grateful it passed near your land.
Okay, interesting.
Yes. So when it comes to people, your goal you might intend the very best for them, but your goal is not to fix them. Your goal is not to fix them. Your goal is to be there for them. So don't try and fix them. Just be there for them. So listen to them without judgment. Understand that even as they are giving you an opportunity to listen. One, it might have taken a lot of courage to do so. Two, you might have also experienced the same thing. It gives you an opportunity to listen. The second thing you do is to validate and not dismiss. Instead of saying what we normally say, heri wewe, venye tunapendanga kusema, instead you say, okay, this one yenye ilikuwa ngumu, yenye ulikapita. The reason why you don't say heri wewe is because, remember, this is not a competition about who got hurt the most.
Yeah.
There's no trophy for you being hurt the most. So the goal here is to have genuine empathy, to validate, because you would want them to do the same for you.
Sure.
You'd want them to also understand what you are going through. to hear what you are dealing with. So you do the same to them. You listen to them without dismissing it.
I'm
Third,
here
you
writing
understand.
notes.
You bearer. I wrote notes myself.
Okay. The other one.
The third thing to do is to be patient. Now, this one's the hardest of all of them. Because the reality of the matter is, with any course of healing is not linear.
Yeah.
There is no 5-step program to healing. There is no 30-day method of healing. Healing sometimes looks like they are absolutely fine, like they have no problems, and on some days they are throwing things around their house and they're threatening to harm themselves. Healing it's not linear. There are days when you're 100% and there are days when you're 0. So don't take it personally on the days when they don't have it all.
Say that again.
And don't take it personally. Don't take it personally when they don't have it all. Don't take it personally when they say they want space. And don't take it personally when they say they want to have off days. When they tell you they want to have time for themselves, don't be quick to try and lock them in. You're not allowing them to feel what they need to feel. So be patient with them. If they're showing signs of distancing, the best you can tell them is don't be a stranger. The best you can do is please take care of yourself for me. The best you can do is please tell me when you come back. That's the best you can do, because you need to allow them to deal with whatever they're dealing with. The beauty of childhood trauma and the nature of growing up and becoming and living is that at some point you will get to the point where you have to question your life choices and your life decisions.
Yeah.
And you often will be confronted with either what we call the demons of the past. That could be that childhood trauma, or issues you did not deal with, unresolved trauma. So allow them to heal. Give them the opportunity to. Don't lock them in. The fourth thing is to offer consistency and kindness. Don't just be kind to them on the days when they have something to offer you.
Bana.
Don't be kind to them only on the days they have something to offer you. The times they need your kindness are the days they have the least to offer you. And I will give this as a quote for your audience to live by. The truth of your character is not displayed in the people who have the most to give you. The truth of your character is displayed in how you treat the people who have nothing to give you.
Hey,
So
you're sending us to the think tank, Mr. Man. What is your agenda?
My agenda is for people to heal, and my agenda is for people to be better than they left.
Oh yes. Where have you been since I started my podcast?
I've been existing, learning. Usiulize swali ya where have you been, ile if I met you earlier, met me earlier, I was dealing with childhood trauma.
What an answer.
Met me earlier, nilikuwa nakunywa kale kajuice kabibu. Sijui kama audience yangu inakumbuka bibu, ama mimi ndio mzee. Anyway. So there's that. I'll repeat it for those of who are writing notes, because I know there are some who are writing notes.
Yeah, my audience is very good.
Your character is not defined by those who have to give you anything. Your character is defined by how you treat those who have nothing to give you. That is a hallmark for what character should be. The drunkard you meet on the street, do you treat them with respect? Because if you don't, you probably will not treat anyone with respect down to the baseline. And yes, your character affects everything, including your relationships, but I digress.
Don't digress.
So when it comes Yeah, you were saying what?
I'm saying like that is so insightful. That is really something to live by. That is something to really think about.
Yeah. So again, back to how we offer safe spaces for people living with childhood trauma. I'm going to go back to offering consistency and kindness. Feeling safe comes from knowing somebody will show up without changing the rules. How many times have you ever wanted your friends to be there for you and you've wanted to show them everything? You see, we are living in a world where we are taught to lock things in, create secrets, have secrets nobody knows, and yet we know this is not our heart. Our hearts are not designed for secrets. It's the reason why we want friendships. It's the reason why we share life stories. The reason why we do these things is because we are not secretive. It is not our nature to be secretive. In fact, those who are secretive often have plans to hurt, not to heal, or to restore. It's true. If you bear a secret, you bear something that has the intent to destroy, and you either withhold it to release it at a time when it is convenient for you, or you hold it in order to prevent yourself from admitting to something that could hurt somebody. And so the reality is our hearts are not designed for secrets. That's why we share. Sharing is a part of who we are as people. So the reason why I bring the aspect of sharing is this. When somebody is dealing with childhood trauma, they're dealing with a very core part of who they are. And for this is because this is a very core part of who they are, this could very well mean all of who they are. It could mean everything to them. And the most they would need from you for you to be a great friend to them is for you to never change your rules should they show themselves out.
Yeah.
In fact, I do understand that when people are discussing about relationships, we often talk about trust and we talk about respect and we talk about these things, but we don't often base the fact. We also don't talk about the truth that happens when people change their rules because of something that you experienced. Vulnerability, when people change their rules once they've seen you vulnerable, is a good enough reason for anybody to leave a relationship. It signifies a high, not a low, a very high level of distrust. The same applies in this instance. When what you desire out of your partner is intimacy, and intimacy doesn't just mean sex. And I know we use the word we interchange the word intimacy and sex a lot. They don't mean the same thing. Intimacy means closeness. Intimacy doesn't just mean sex. Intimacy means closeness. Sex is one of the ways you express intimacy, but intimacy means closeness. So one of the ways you become intimate with someone is by being vulnerable with them.
Yeah.
Men are taught not to be vulnerable with women, either through life experiences with women who either attack their vulnerability or by fellow women who tell them, don't trust us with your vulnerability. And that's not right, because when do you know this person is really yours? So I will emphasize, this applies not just to your male friendships, but also to your love lives. Also your female friendships and your love lives, for the men who are listening. Intimacy means I can be vulnerable with you. I can be weak in front of you and not have you want to pounce on me.
Heavy on pounds.
Pounce. Because again, the only people who target the weak are predators. I can open my arms. Do people even understand the meaning of a hug? A simple thing like a hug. In action, okay, sorry, I delve into the things of things. So forgive me if I go a bit off tangent by explaining this. When you're opening arms wide open for somebody, the front part of you is often the most delicate. By opening your arms, you're expressing that you are willingly becoming defenseless in front of this person.
Like an act of surrender.
Like an act of surrender. You're basically telling them, I am not your enemy. I am your friend. You're openly expressing that you trust me. So an act of a hug, and by you reciprocating the hug, you're basically telling me, I am exposing. Hello?
Hello, I am able to hear
Hello?
you. I'm able to hear you.
Hello? You can hear me?
Yeah, you are clear.
Okay. Okay, so as I was saying, by them reciprocating the hug, they're basically telling you this. I have seen that you are not my enemy. I am also not your enemy. So in fact, we are not just enemies, we are close. I can trust you with my weakness, and you can trust me with yours. That's what our hug should be. But we don't really understand the things behind things, and our world does not allow us, typically, especially of late, with how much information flows through us, to understand the meanings of things. And this is something that you should think about, even in your application to friends, where you give your hugs, who you give your hugs to. There's a reason why even as human beings, when we receive a new hug, we feel badly about it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Subconsciously, we know what a hug means. When somebody gives us a limp hug, we know what they mean, and it breaks our heart.
Yeah. Ati sufuria moto ananishika kama sufuria moto.
Ndio hiyo. And you wonder why. It's one of those things that people do that make you alert you to something going on with a person. Let's say a friend you have not met in a while who used to very openly hug you. Now they hug you on the side. You ask yourself why. The first thing you will ask is, are they okay? Or why did they do so?
Wait, Tehila. You're sending us to think. Will we ever come out of that think tank that you are pushing us to?
No, it's good to think about these things. It's good to think about these things. We had another discussion, but this one is not part of the podcast. But we had another discussion. If you will allow them, you probably might, if you don't mind plugging me, you could send them to the Medium article I sent you. They could go and check out the articles that I've written there. I write about a whole range of things, but one of the things is what we discussed with you about guarding your heart and guarding your WhatsApp group, talking about the correlation between friendships and whatnot. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, I perfectly will share and invite people, because I have felt like this session was therapy in itself. Like, man, I feel so relaxed, relieved, no pressure. And I hope it is the same to everyone else that will be listening in.
I'd encourage them to look at what I have to write. I write about random topics. Again, in my topics, I don't claim to be right or wrong. I claim to be a person who has a thought to share and to encourage. I encourage people to exchange with me. That's the whole reason why I write. I don't write to make a point. I write to have a discussion. So back to offering consistency. The reason why I talked about why the hug is so important, and I talked about why intimacy is so important, is because it is what we do with people. And when you're going to create, if you're going to create a safe space for somebody with childhood trauma, you need to be able to know what these things mean. You need to know how to be intimate with somebody. You need to know how to create a safe space for them and what safety means. So basically, safety means this: I can come to you and I know you will not change what you think of me. I know I can tell you the worst of myself and you won't think that of me. I know I can tell you anything, and I am confident it won't change what you think of me. the light by which you see me, leaving it on. In that. So that's where you offer consistency and kindness. That is what is expected or desired of you in that time, especially with the hope to heal them.
Yeah, I think consistency is so much important, and no one talks about it because you cannot be checking up on someone today and then you check up on them next week. What if they died
No,
hapo katikati?
checking up on them has to be something you both agree on, because you don't also want to overdo it. You don't also want to force yourself into this person's life. You want them to accept your presence rather than forcing yourself into. You can, if they are cool with you checking with them once per week or once in a while, because of that maybe that is what their personality allows. Maybe they are introverts, they don't like talking to people much, or they're extroverts and they are super busy and they're not reachable. That's okay. If they want to be checked on every day, sure, check on them every day. The most important thing here is when they need to call on you, they don't have to think twice about it.
Oh yeah. That is something I'm unlearning right now. Any parting shot?
Bado hata tujafika kwa parting shot.
Yay!
Hatujafika kwa parting shot. Because I'll go through my last notes because I understand the time.
Yeah, 56 minutes past.
I know. The thing with childhood trauma, you can talk about it for a while, but I'll try and like cut it down. I'll simplify how somebody as an individual can overcome childhood trauma before I get to the last point. And I'll simplify this. One, you need to be aware of what you're dealing with. That one, you're dealing with childhood trauma. You have to name exactly what you're dealing with. So look into your life, find out exactly what you're dealing with. Name it, give it a name, and then learn to heal from it. The second thing is go find therapy, find counseling. Something you can't do alone, which most of us cannot do alone. Find therapy, find counseling, and look for healthy relationships. Look for people who are able to respect your boundaries and people who can validate what you're feeling. And by validating what you're feeling, they are not allowing you to be softy. Unajua kuna watu watasikia waseme hizi masoftness ni nini sasa. It's more ile hasira una feel tunarada kwa nini umejam, si ati bila reason. Ile uchungu una feel tunajua kwa nini una feel uchungu, si ati unajua uko na uchungu tu bure. And more importantly, kuna respect your boundaries, meaning kama udai kuongeleshwa sahii ni poa, tutakuongelesha baadaye, but lazima tukuongeleshe, hatuwezi kuachilia hivyo. Self-compassion, this is what most people don't deal with. You need to learn to stop blaming yourself for what happened.
Yeah, I think that affects most people.
Yes, most people blame themselves for something that happened in childhood that they didn't have an understanding to, and for that reason either they make themselves the victim or they withdraw from people. You need to learn to forgive yourself. You need to learn to forgive yourself. Whatever happened, and you need to stop either blaming yourself or you need to forgive yourself. And more importantly, even if the issue was not your fault, you need to forgive yourself for the times you kicked yourself down. Then there are also other methods you can take. There is journaling, there is art, there is prayer, there is meditation. Taking the time to listen to yourself. A lot of us don't take the time to listen to ourselves. We either just talk, we either just project, we don't spend enough time with ourselves. Some of us are afraid of being lonely because we know when we are lonely, we have to deal with what the body has been yearning to say, what the mind and the heart have been yearning to say for a very long time. You need to learn to be okay with these things. You need to learn to be okay with whatever is inside, allowing it to come out so that you have enough. Now you have the opportunity in this instance to arrange, to find out what hurts, to heal, to grieve if you need to grieve, and then to finally be able to move on.
Wow.
So this is the last thing I'll tell your audience, and this is the last thing I'll tell you. People can and they do heal from childhood trauma. They can grow stronger, they can grow more self-aware, they can even help others. The pain doesn't have to be your whole story. The pain does not have to be your whole story.
That is deep, because there's someone who keeps on telling us child and parents left them abandoned, but then they're not telling us if they healed or not. Kila siku anatuambia tu story ya my mother did this, my father did this. But I'm like, yo, did you heal, girl? Just heal.
And if you telling them just if you tell them to just heal, it's not.
Yeah.
We know why we say it and we know how we say it.
Yeah, you're not telling them in the right manner. But again,
we're not being genuine with our answer by telling them to just heal.
Because you see, the last point here, the pain is not your whole story.
Yeah.
You can have another story of healing.
In fact, if anything, your life that part of your life should have been a chapter, not a book.
Why inafaa uandike kitabu na utuite launch?
Maybe I will.
You should. But thank you so much, Tubila. It was just so amazing. Nasikia tu tuendelee, lakini sasa nashangaa.
Podcast, watu si watachoka kusikiza.
Nachukua kienda break. But it is so interesting because you see, I have not even been distracted because I have felt tuendelee tu. But you see, but thank you so much for sharing with us your thoughts, your convictions, and you have even shared the word. I believe this is just going to be more than healing to someone who is going through trauma, who has been yearning to listen to people talk about trauma and the positive side of it, to be specific. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate. Asante sana. So guys, till we meet next time, I hope you keep on sharing this to everyone in your kwa hiyo group yenu ya familia, ya cousins. Now you can send this podcast so that you all heal from, and you also get to know if you have been actually dealing with trauma and what you can do about it, so that when you meet in your next family gathering, you have something to talk about, the positive side. And for anyone who has been yearning to support this podcast, you can buy a merchandise or two. Just email me and I'll be able to see your email, and you will get a merchandise from wherever place that you're listening into. So asanteni sana, bye.